there's a lot of meat in there, and we're gonna chew on a lot of it. Despite the fact that you have to be told everything 5 times, we are not going to repeat everything 5 times. We're going to go into, but try to actually repeat in many ways the themes that Richard just outlined. And maybe we can actually start with Chuck to go a little bit deeper to see how you take those principles and apply them. And as I mentioned, Chuck's gotten very involved in using the core competencies of Warner Brothers to address global HIV/AIDS. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit, and I'm going to ask actually all the panelists to reflect on these thoughts, and maybe start with Ray, going a little bit deeper on the Twitter phenomenon, but how you use the core competencies of Warner Brothers, and not only how you've been using them, but how you got the company engaged and why the company got engaged in this at all levels, going down to that employee.
It's actually been almost 2 years, or just a little over 2 years, since Mark and his team at OGAC, the PEPFAR team, approached us to see whether or not we could help in any way in changing the infection rate that was plaguing the PEPFAR countries. Indeed, PEPFAR had done a remarkable job of remediating and providing aid to the people who are victims of AIDS in these countries. But Mark's challenge was to think out of the box, and presented it to us, think out of the box. How can you use the skills that you have at Warner Brothers to actually make a change and a difference in these countries so that the rate decreases? And it was a challenge for us that quite frankly, it took almost 8 months to figure out. Most of you know us from our movies. If you're a movie fan, you know The Dark Knight. You know that we have the Terminator series, by the way, that May 22nd, the 4th one comes out. Our television shows, our classics such as... we have to do it, you know, Richard. You know our television shows like Friends or ER, and the cutting edge ones such as The Mentalist and Fringe. Those are familiar things to people. And what do they have in common? Well, what they have in common is that we are supporting storytellers, people who are presenting their ideas, their dreams, their objectives, and making them aspirational in many cases for the audience that we're watching. So as we sat back, first thing I had to do was to get the company to understand how big this project was, and it was overwhelming. The $15 million, 3 years, the millions of people who were being taken care of, the hundreds of thousands of people who were involved in actually administering it, the small team in Washington that was actually running the entire program, a very, very lean team, and the concept of a public-private partnership that Mark gave us. And what we do in the movie industry is if you can't tell your story in 2.5 minutes, which is the length of a movie trailer, it's very difficult to get it over. So what I did is I went to some of our best people in our marketing department and in the theatrical distribution group, and I told them the PEPFAR story. We gave them all of the documents, and we had more support than I could possibly have wished for from Mark's team in getting this. And we created a 2.5 minute trailer. And indeed, what it did, the narrator happened to be the president that we used, and it told the story of PEPFAR. It told the imagination, and it focused on what this was all about. It was about helping people. And indeed, it was helping those that are most vulnerable, the vulnerable children. And that was the message that we got across. We showed it to a number of our folks internally and started to get buy-on beyond, again, what I could possibly have expected. I happen to have one of our newer divisions, it's a 5-year-old division, the video game division, and that was specifically what Mark was looking at. Can we do something with our video games to entice the kids to come in, make contact, but also give behavioral change messages and health messages in that same thing? No one had done it effectively before, and that was the challenge that we were willing to take. Went to the division, told them what it was about, and we went out to get world-class storytellers in gaming. These games are really interactive storytelling, the same as our other 2 major businesses. And we crafted a concept that we could put a game in place, surround it with all of the 16 or 17 assets that we would create for a movie or a television show. Things from websites to posters to, matter of fact, multiple posters, to trailers that specifically talk about the game, some that talk about the image of what the game should be, and rolled out an entire campaign. The buy-in was simple. Once they understood that we were going to help people, we were able to align with the talent at Warner Brothers because their interests are in reaching out and helping. Obviously, profits are first in our category, making popular movies and making money. But the second is that we're a corporate citizen, and a corporate citizen of the world. We export to over 200 countries our products. So once we understood that, and then finally we were going to help people that are in need, it was easy to get people to buy in. And we had an event on April 14th last year where all 6,000 employees of Warner Brothers were exposed to the project we were working on. We had multiple screenings of the trailer. Actually, Mark and his team came out and led backpacks being packed with school supplies, events all over the lot. The whole corporation got behind it once we explained the mission. And that started the whole program until last year when we launched the game in Kenya on December 14th.